Hello, I'm here today with the Elektron Digitakt 2 as well as the Roland TR8S. I've covered these both separately as well as together. They're really easy to compare because where one has a weakness, the other one has a strength. But I have never combined them together, and that's what we're going to be doing here today. Over the years, I noticed that a lot of people have both of these units. They're kind of like standard units in terms of like desktop gear. So hopefully this video will give you some food for thought. Now, there's two ways that I've found this combination kind of works together. Because the Digitakt 2 has a much more precise and stronger sequencer, it's a pretty fun idea to use that power to control the sounds of the TR8S. At first, it might seem a little bit contradictory to even pursue that, but there's some techniques that you can't really access in the same way by just, tempo, clock, MIDI syncing these two together. So let's get into that just to explain like the MIDI / audio thing that's going on here. So this is the clock, of course. MIDI out is going to MIDI in of the TR8S, and then audio out of the TR8S is going into the glorious mixer of the Digitakt 2. You know the deal. If I want to, I could add some delay or chorus or reverb onto the incoming audio from the TR8S, but for now we're just going to leave it bare as is. Outside of that though, this combination has a much more intricate setup. Like there's a lot more boxes to tick in order to have these speak with each other properly without any issues. A lot of that has to do with the CC MIDI configuration of the Digitakt 2. And so I've linked this template as well as the full walkthrough of this setup over on my Patreon. Basically what I've done though is I've set these bottom 8 channels here to MIDI channels, and through the CC information here, the CC values, I'm able to control specific parameters on each of these instruments, or on a select few of these instruments. I find that this is particularly fun on the FM drum. So what I'm doing here, I'm controlling tune, which is this knob right here, decay as well, which is this knob, and then morph, which is that knob. So let me open this up and see what morph does. So again, I could use the strength of an Elektron sequencer to param lock these per step. So let's just quickly put together a pattern on the TR8S here. 4 on the floor. Okay, so these hi-hats I'm not crazy about. Let's bring that decay down. And let's change a few of these around. So let's say on this step, we could morph it a little bit. Let's add another hi-hat here, morph it again, and we're going to open up, let's say, these ups. Copy this one here, change the morph on this one. Let's open up this kick a little bit, make it a bit more of a rumbly thing. There we go. There's some kick. And so again, we should take advantage of this. We could micro nudge some of these, which you can't do on the TR8S. The TR8S is very quantized. It's 100% quantized. So maybe the hi-hats, let's push these back a little bit, at least the ones that are happening on the up. Another fun thing we could do is on top of this, we could actually use the TR8S sequencer over top of the Digitakt 2 sequencer. I actually haven't tried this yet. Let's try 16 notes. And we're gonna close those ones. It's kind of cool. That's pretty great. What if we add a smidgen of reverb? There's also a delay through the TR8S, so you can have a lot of fun with this combination. I'm also able to open up polyrhythms. I could also separate the step length of each voice. So let's say with this pattern in particular on the claps, I've set it to 5 out of 16. Right, so we're getting groups of 5. It is restarting every 16 notes at this point. We can, have fun with it, get funky. Like, what is that? So this is just a really interesting way to have all these different rhythms that you may have not come up with just thrown at you. Another thing that I think is important to point out is that the TR-8S has individual outs. So you have the access of the sequencer. And if you'd like to maybe multi-track or, play this into a mixer, into individual channels, you could do that through the 8S. So that's another reason why this just makes such a killer combo. And before I forget, there's affiliate links for both of these instruments linked in the description of this video. If you end up using those links, I make a small commission off of that sale, which doesn't cost you anything extra. If you want to, you could just swap out your entire kit on the fly. So let's just go to something basic, TR-808. You're like, I don't know, what if I want a TR-909? Okay, there it is. 707. All the classic Roland drum sounds are there. And then of course, you have a lot more than that. Let's combine these forces in a different way. I've done a video in the past comparing the strengths and weaknesses of these two. Here is a link to it. Well, why not combine those strengths specifically into a more expansive drum machine on steroids? So how I would approach this sort of setup is to come prepared with something on the Digitakt. So something that's essentially pre-programmed, maybe resorting to basic controls like muting and unmuting tracks, and that's about it. And then leave the live playability aspect to the TR-8S. I tend to think that unfortunately the low end of the TR-8S, it's a bit thin to me. For whatever reason, it's not quite as punchy as the Digitakt. I programmed some low drums into this pattern here. As you can see, there's only 2 voices happening here. Otherwise, it's just really easy to get overwhelmed with so many channels or voices. I'll go over to 909 on the TR-8S, and this just leaves us so much to work with, right? So let's say with the rim, there we have a rim. High pass filter on the rim as well. We could tune it really quickly. Maybe a hand clap. Right, so we have a little bit of filter control on this as well if we want to sort of perform it in. We could keep that accent in there if we want. This is on the downbeats. Let's say hi-hats, just 16 notes, boom. As I mentioned before, if we want to, we could, just use the mutes and unmute. So drop out the low end. Maybe play around over here. Maybe we could add in a separate part here that we could come back with on the TR-8S. So let's do that with the high toms and low toms. So now we've just come in with these toms. Erase this if we want to. Another way to erase it, of course, let's say we put it back, clear, and then clear those hi-hats. So they're gone now. Let's say I go into a section, I just want the ups. They're there. I also have some longer samples on this end here. As you can see, they're just playing on the downbeats. So I just know that they're there if I need them. So let's say I know that this is a bass part. So now I have a bass part on that particular riff. To let you know, all of these samples are from my latest sample pack called Techno Starters Volume 1. And if I go into my samples drive here, you have just like an unlimited amount of samples to choose from. They're all very techno driven. So it's just a really convenient way to sort of like throw yourself into that techno world in terms of drums. And I think that gives a lot of room to work with. Of course, we haven't really even gotten into melodic samples. We're sticking specifically to using these two together as a drum machine. There's of course just so much room to work with. This is just one pattern, and I'm using like 25% of what this offers. So how else could you enhance or maybe modify the setup? Oh yeah, of course, Ableton. The TR-8S makes for an awesome MIDI controller for Ableton Live. It's also an audio interface, and you could also use it hybrid in all 3 of those ways: MIDI controller, drum machine, audio interface. And I've done that many times. I've actually done a full video on that if you'd like to go further into it. This plus Ableton, that's the sort of setup that would be limitless, and it also takes a lot of weight off of your Ableton session. So that's also an option. And now, a word from today's sponsor, DistroKid. If you're watching this video, chances are that you'd like to officially release your music to all major streaming platforms. So first off, why choose DistroKid? They are hands down the most affordable music distribution platform in the game. We're talking like just over 20 bucks a year affordable to release unlimited music. And by the way, on top of that, I also have a discount for you linked in the description of this video. You collect 100% of your streaming royalties with DistroKid, another huge plus, and they're designed specifically for independent artists and producers. How, you may ask? Well, here's a list of tools that they offer that will help you with at least some of the heavy lifting when it comes to promoting your own music independently. For example, there's Hyperfollow, which is a free landing page that I've personally been using for years now across all of my social media. It's similar to a Linktree type of situation where you can lead people to specific pages or maybe different social medias. You can post video content, maybe a link to your latest single, and you can create an unlimited amount of landing pages at no extra cost. DistroKid also offers promo cards, another free tool that you could use to promote your music on social media. So many other features, and again, just over $20 a year. To me, it's a no-brainer. If you're looking for a music distributor, well, now you know where to go. Sign up using the discount linked in the description of this video.